obviously, just a couple of people still have their cameras on. Just so you can turn your camera off just before we get going. Be much appreciated. Just a wee bit of housekeeping, folks, before we get started. Tonight's webinar is going to be recorded, so if anyone has any issues with that, feel free to log off there now. Firstly, I'd like to thank Colm, Nally for giving us up his time. Obviously, very busy schedule, obviously with Meath and with Newtown Blues. And it's excellent to have someone with so much knowledge logging on, give us a couple of ideas, returning to training. Obviously, we know things have changed over the last couple of days, so Colm will refer to that in the call. Colm, I'm just going to hand it over to you. Folks, if anyone has any questions, just type them into the chat box, and I'll relay questions maybe during and after the webinar. Is that okay, Colm?
No problem, Shane. Okay, thanks very much, Shane, for the invitation, and hello and welcome to everybody that's on board. And the fact that we've a high number logging on tonight just shows you that the interest is there and the hunger is there. And like yourselves, it was a pretty dark place for everybody over the last while. We all got a great chink of light with the news that we're coming back. But you have many different types of, many coaches working with different types of age groups at the moment. So we're all a little bit nervous about coming back. But one of the things we have to remember is that this off season has probably been longer than most players would normally have. So we're just going to go through a few ideas, and as Shane mentioned, some of the dynamics of the information has changed over the last few weeks, and I'm going to try to cater for that as well. And for my own sake, for a bit of housekeeping, there's a lot of videos in this presentation, and so don't worry if they don't play or if they're lagging. I've sent the presentation on to Shane, and as he said, he's recording it, and we can get it out to you in that way. So if it's lagging and you're not fully understanding what the concepts are, we will be able to get them out to you. And if you have any questions, just feel free to contact me and ask, because this is very, very important. And in fairness now, Louth has been proactive in releasing their fixtures. The guys in coaching games have been very proactive by trying to put this webinar together, because what we really have to do is look after the players. Okay, it's really in the players' interest. So the majority of this is aimed at, say, youth and adults, but boys and girls, but there will be stuff that's relevant to underage as well. So I'll refer back to that as we go on. So if I'm going too quick, like Shane can contact me if there's anything that you're missing, or if the service drops, just give us a shout and we can pause. So for the outcomes of tonight, what we're really looking at is it's best practice now for planning sessions, new sessions, okay, training pods or bubbles. Now I do envisage that these will kind of stay for a little while in terms of who you travel with and all of that sort of stuff. So it's interesting to kind of just be aware of that. I have games-based activities, but what it really should be is activities based on the game. So that's what we're aiming for tonight. Sport-specific condition information, and we hope to give you some session ideas that you can walk away with. And again, like what happens in all of these sessions is you pick up one or two ideas, well, that's half the battle here. So that's what tonight's all about. So just before we start, a lot of us probably haven't coached in a while, so I'm just going to show you a little video. I call it a coaching refresher. And know your players, know your audience, and know your why.
Okay, Mike, that's great. All right, let's try a few starts. Now, it's so important to get this right. You can be 100% fit, you can be the best there is, but if your timing's out, so focus. Okay, and ready? Okay, right. We're just a little bit late there. It's a little bit late, so okay. Trying again. Okay. Ready? Yeah, still a little bit late. Come back basically immediately after the gun. Okay. Okay. Immediately after the gun. Yeah. Okay, I'll try the full routine. Okay. Ready? On your marks. Set. Now again, there's just that tiny delay. Basically, if you can not delay at all, okay, so that'd be...
So no delay?
Exactly. No delay.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ready? No. No. Just smaller delay there. Okay, but basically, you went off before I fired the gun.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah. All right.
Got it?
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay. Ready? No, that's too big a delay now.
Right.
All right. That's it. We'll try and rein it back to the original delay. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready? Now, Mike, that's what I mean. I mean, you're on your mark, set. That was fine, but you know, if you delay after the gun, that's the only sticking point. You see.
Right.
If you don't delay after the gun, then well, that's it. You're gonna have it cracked.
Right.
I mean, you can run 100 meters in 9 seconds. You don't delay, you're going to be an Olympic gold medalist. Simple as that. I'll tell you what. We'll try one more. We'll have a break. Have a cup of tea. All right. Okay.
Yep.
Ready? Perfect. That's it, Mike. All right. Straight line. That's it. Straight line, Mike. Put on a straight line. Back on the track. Mike. You're right. Mike.
So nice little icebreaker there, really. But the message really is like, you know, don't go back full force expecting the players to know everything and be remembering all the stuff that you worked on, you know. And again, remember that the players where they're coming from. So we'll start off with this. This is very interesting information, right? And it's based on elite Gaelic football. So it's probably the reason we're going from elite Gaelic football is because we have the studies and the data from it rather than club football or underage football. And this data comes from Emma McLaughlin, star substitute. She's got some good information on her Twitter handle for anybody that's interested. But basically what it is, it's the distance on average that elite Gaelic football players cover on match day. Now, what it doesn't tell you is the type of different movements to do. So it's made up of multi-directional sprinting, agility, long, short sprints, jogging, walking, backwards movements, right, on and off the ball. So again, what should we be doing in training? So everybody now, particularly adults now, boys and girls, men and women, they have smart watches. So they're probably been all wearing over the last few weeks when they're training. So you've got a rough idea of the distance that's required for them to cover. But the learning really in this is, it's not immediately that they need to get up to these distances. It's over a period of time and the load has to be increased gradually. But remember, it's made up of many, many different types of movement. So we're all seeing record times for 5Ks and that being posted in our WhatsApp groups now. But that's linear running, that's straight line running, okay? And that's going to leave them to open to all sorts of injuries unless we get their return to play properly. So that's what tonight's really about. So again, that's very, very interesting, that about the distance that's covered. So what I would be suggesting is we go back to basics. So again, this will be on the presentation for anyone to see. And it basically is, I've got 3 different types of warm-ups, which is really, really important for people now to integrate into their plan of the session. I'd nearly overdo a warm-up. I'd add an extra couple of minutes into it from now on. So when we were getting groups to train and they're smaller, in small groups, okay, this is the part of the session that's obviously neglected, right? And it's part of your mental preparation as well, to be disciplined, to stick to the plan of a good warm-up. So this is what we call a dynamic stretching and mobility series, and it's kind of a build-up phase prior to exercising. So we have this one here as well, the GAA 15 warm-up. We can send that out to you. Shane can send that out to you as well. That's on the Lenser website, and it's a brilliant one. Okay, or the physio now that I work with, he recommends that this one is the best one. It's on the Ulster Council website, and it's called the Activate warm-up. But they're all very, very similar. But the message would be to spend lots of time, you know, building up and going through the phases before, more so than you ever did now. So brush up on the type of warm-ups, and again, allocate 20 minutes or so to that for when you're warming up the team. So that would be one of the key messages. Now, one of the things I like to coach, and one of the reasons, or one of the main ingredients of coaching is know your why. I like players to want to know why we're doing things. So, you know, you'd be quite right to ask, why should we be focusing on the warm-up, right? So, again, we're getting new data about injuries after lockdowns, but the only data that's been out there is this. It's from the NFL from 2011. There was a owner's strike, and the players didn't have any activity for about 18 weeks. So if you have a look at the top part of this infographic, you'll see, okay, that during preseason, right, of all the teams in America, right, during preseason, they suffer 2 Achilles tendons ruptures, 5 over the year. So that would be normal, okay? And that was kind of from our 5-year data. They were suffering minimum injuries, right? But if you look at the one below, in pre-season alone, okay, they had 10 ruptures in the first 12 days, 12 in total in the first month. And these are for professional athletes that have all the resources to them, okay? Now, we're seeing huge evidence of this in the Bundesliga return to play and in the Premiership over the weekend. Arsenal have suffered 3 soft tissue injuries already. And these guys have everything at their disposal compared to what we have. So it's really, really, if you take nothing away from today, take this infograph. It's very, very important, right? And we have a duty of care for our players to get them back onto the pitch in the best shape they can. Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about over the next kind of 40 minutes or so. So it's really, really interesting that, and that's why we're putting in them protocols of that good warm up, okay, and focusing on that. So talking to a couple of physios, these are the sort of problems that the physios are finding at the moment. So the insurance, okay, now I think that will be rectified once the GAA pitches are officially open. Players will be come back in the GAA insurance scheme, right? The gradual load increase. Now, if you are a player yourself and you know that you're doing a great 5K or 10K time and it's getting better and better and better, and then you go down and do a ball session and you're wrecked. Okay, it's a completely different type of activity. You're taxing different energy system. So to go back to that, you have to gradually load your football training. Okay, so they're recommending a gradual load increase. Now, you'll have some coaches probably saying we need to push them hard. You probably don't. Okay, you have to kind of trust your instinct and build. They're seeing a high injury numbers at the moment of fellas going back onto pitches. Okay, they're emphasising to follow warm-up procedures. They keep stressing that. And they've warned about surfaces. Now, I've seen lots of pictures of Louth clubs all around and they're in top nick, but not every pitch is top nick. Also, lots of players haven't been working on grass. They've been working on sort of bumpy patches of grass, roads, beaches, and now they're going on a different surface. So that's going to sort of contribute to injuries as well. And recovery. They follow your recovery protocols, right? Even more so. So there's a couple of physio housekeeping. This is what they are recommending. Now, years ago, I did a strength and conditioning degree through Setanta College, and the reason I did it was to understand strength and conditioning roles within Gaelic football. I never wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach, but I learned so much from it. Okay, I'll never forget this termination called proprioception. And what proprioception is the perception or awareness of the position and the movement of the body. Okay, so I don't like being smart and asking, does anybody here have muscle memory? Because there's no such thing as muscle memory. What it is the brain sends a signal to your spine to move the body in certain ways. Now, if you haven't moved the body in certain ways over a number of weeks, it has to nearly relearn them or retrain them, and that's where you're open to injury if you don't do that. So if you go straight into intense work without building the body up gradually, it breaks down. Okay, now you are going to experience injuries when we return to play. We are, but our job is to keep them to a minimum. So by putting in these best practices, these should help. So I have an example of proprioception here. Now this is an extreme example of it. Okay, you're all aware of that. Now that's Colm O'Callaghan, an amazing catch fall. What's happening here as this is happening is, as he's going up for the ball, his brain is sending signals down his spine about what's happening around him, what type of contacts are being made, how he's going to fall. Now he's superbly conditioned, and that would have contributed an awful lot to him controlling and stabilising his body once he hit the ground. It would hazard a guess if that happened in the next couple of matches with the club, his body wouldn't hold up to it. Okay, so that's the point about proprioception, and part of the parcel of what we have to try to do when we're returning players to play. So again, player first. Everything must be designed with the player in mind, right? And what we want them to have is to enjoy their season. It's going to be condensed, okay? And we need them to be at their best. So these next weeks, now we're after actually getting a couple of extra weeks, which really, really helps, okay? So I've got a few different ideas here now. So again, they're talking about now the new recommendation is close contact. And what close contact is allowing you kind of to bump into people and, you know, to kind of knock them without fully grabbing or tackling. So again, this is a simple little exercise, right, to help prepare players for full contact. And it's just channels, both players solo on the ball, and you'll see they'll automatically make contact with each other. Harmless stuff. good stuff, but it prepares the body, okay? It prepares the ankles and the knees and the hips to stabilize, okay? It prepares you to sort of control your body while you're solo and with a man in your area, okay? And I progress it in simply. So again, this will all be in the presentation. You can see it by the diagram. Really, really simple to plan and really, really simple to act. That's if you have enough footballs, of course. Okay, there's quite a lot here. So again, you see this one, they just go up the channel and down the channel. Very, very simple. Now there's really minimal contact in it. Okay, the next one here I really like, and it's really good for young players. Okay, and basically what you're doing is you're just occupying one of the hands with a ball. Okay, so we can only use one hand to tackle. Okay, so it's really, really good. So again, the contact is minimum. You can see it there now. The hand just comes in, and it's very, very minimum contact. So there are simple ideas like that for close contact. When the GAA comes out and say close contacts allowed, that's the type of activity you're looking for. Okay. Now, I had a couple of contacts. One, if you're not comfortable with any of that sort of stuff, there's no point in, you don't have to do it. But you know, it is coming down the line. So they're the type of activities we're talking about doing in advance. So a few. Now again, these were planned a few weeks ago when we were allowed to come back in small groups, right? But they're still, to me, very, very meaningful for today and for you planning a session. So during them pods coaching sessions, or even if you're putting them in the groups, right, you have a great chance of what's called peer coaching, right? And what peer coaching is each other coaching each other. So if your club is like my club and all the other clubs up and down the country, you have a mixture of older players and younger players. And this is a brilliant chance for them to get to know each other and to swap some ideas. Great chance for the players to practice on a weakness or a strength, learn new skills or tricks. Okay, we done a lot of work over the last few weeks reviewing videos and talking, right? And the thing that keeps sticking out to me now is the amount of players that has a trick up their sleeve can buy so much time. So now is a great time for planning and practicing new tricks. You create a coaching culture within your team. Okay, a team that self-coaches. Are we okay? A team that self-coaches each other is fantastic. It's full of leaders on the pitch, okay, and they see things happen and they react. And ultimately, that's what we'd love to create. So the younger you get players kind of creating that coaching culture, the better. You become a doer. You have to do the exercises. You have to do the training. Very, very interesting, okay. I ran 2 similar sessions, one with a group of 30 and one with a group of 6. And the group of 6 ran about 3 or 4 extra K during that session because they'd low recoveries. Okay, so you get loads of benefits. They're doing the exercises, they're coaching each other, right? They share experiences, right? And you have fresh eyes. Why don't you use this foot? Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? All the players now, with working with 2 or 3 other players, have plenty of time to watch over them and share some of their experiences. So the message again, before we move on to all these exercises, is don't work hard. Work intelligent. Okay, so it's a very, very important message to have. So here's a sample session, okay, and so I go through this. I have diagrams, I have videos, and I'll refer back to them at the end. So I have a rough guide of timings. So you have your GAA warm-up 15 or dynamic mobility series, and the RPEs is the rating of perceived effort. Now these have been collected over years. Players saying, I thought that was very hard or this very hard. And if you look at the session the way it's planned, they gradually get harder and harder as they go, and that's perfect. Now your next session, right, you might introduce the harder stuff earlier, and after 3 or 4 sessions you'll get the harder stuff in earlier. But this is what we're talking about, the gradual and load increase. So I go through all these activities, but a couple of things, right, is these sessions are based on pods of 6. They can easily be 12, they can easily be 18. Okay, working in smaller groups reduce the timing of activities. Okay, it doesn't really matter because you're going to be working in pair. Obviously, give a break about 60 seconds between each for players to get extra stretching and water breaks. Okay. Now, a couple of things about these sessions to plan. There's limited equipment required, and I'm kind of thinking poles is nearly better to use than cones because I think you're going to wipe down a pole quicker. I would encourage all players to wear gloves. Okay. Bring their own water bottles if they can. Okay, and hand sanitizers. And one coach or player keeps the equipment if possible, so that he gives them a chance to disinfect it, and there's not much handling on it. Only little general housekeeping if you're kind of setting up smaller group sessions. So everything applies for larger sessions either if you're doing this. So there's really what a pitch could look like if you're carrying out this session. So you can have up to 24 players working this session, and you have them spread out all around the pitch. Now I would even recommend, and I intend, that when full contact is given, I'm not going to take that full contact window. I'm going to build up prior to that. I think it's the right thing to do, and I think all the experts in sports science has backed that up. Okay, it's great to have full contact, but we don't need to go flat out into full contact. So here's a few of the ideas that we're talking about. So I really like this. This is called skill set distractors. Okay, now I'm using 2 players. You could have 12 players working here around the rectangle. And again, you always adjust the size to suit the ability and the age of your group. So for this one, I want you to keep an eye on the 2 players. So the yellow players are passing to each other. And basically what happens, they kick a long pass to their partner and they call a colour of a pole. And the player must run around that pole, do a dummy solo or a hop and kick it back. Very, very low impact, very, very low base. But move themselves. So again, I've got banks of hundreds of these videos, and we've kept them for the likes of this. So it's simply balls kicked left and right. Okay, the player gets it, goes around blue, he does his dummy solo, changes direction, kicks it back. Okay, so you could have 3 players working along the top and another 3 working along the sides. So you can have a total of like in that rectangle, 3 players all around it, in total 12 players working in pairs, passing to each other. And the thing about doing it with lots of other players around is the peripheral vision is affected. Okay, their spacing has to be learned, all that sort of stuff. But again, if you look at the movements, okay, very, very low key, very, very low base, but it's movements based on the game. And you can see the rustiness in them, and you're going to see a lot of that. Okay, so simple activities to start with, skill set distractors. Okay, now another one. Right, I've tried to design some sessions that are relevant to some positions that the players are playing. So this is a really good fun one that players love doing, called bouncers. Okay, so you can set up a series of poles. You have 2 or 3 players, and you could have as many poles as you want around, 2 balls each, and they're partner in behind the goals. So it's quite simply they're bouncing the ball around a target, okay, and they're pushing off left or right onto their foot to shoot for a point. Now, again, you're recreating movements that players like attackers, inside attackers do. So it's just a little shimmy left and right, and stuck over the bar. Now his target is very low here at the moment. It's just a simple cone, okay, and just moving left and right, and that's moving his ankles and his knees and everything in the movement that he needs to be doing. So again, the target has changed here now. The ball is higher, so he has to adjust his hips a little bit more. Now they're very, very low base, but they're movements based on the game. So you could have as many of these set up with the partner in the goal working on them. So that would be for inside players. Now, again, the players that are in this video, as you probably well know, they're brothers and they're cousins, and so there's a little bit of contact in it. You don't have to do the likes of these exercises with contact. You can use the pole like we did in the last video if you like, but this is for your defenders. Now, one of the principles of defending that I always like is the ball not to stick on the inside line. So again, I'm using this time to reinforce that practice that we've done all the time to remind the players about that. So this is a non-stickers. You can have as many of these as you want, okay, a couple of channels. So all it is, it starts statically and moves to movements. So what you're doing is the red player is coming in front of the yellow player and just making sure that the ball that's been fed to him doesn't stick. Very, very simple exercise, but again, if you keep an eye on the feet and the footwork, that's the most important thing. So the static highs. So he's just dancing in front, which is no contact, he's just dancing in front there, okay, and he's just taking it around. So again, we're not letting that ball stick. So what that is, that's kind of a degree of programming, where you're programming your defenders to kind of not let the ball stick. So these kind of static exercises help that. So the players just swap. Okay, so again, I want them using both hands. So the player led with the wrong hand there, so we correct that. So now the ball is a little bit low, coming in left and right. And again, they're pushing off their quads and using their knees. And we've done that a few times with our players now in our small groups, and they all have fed back that they can feel it in their quads and the knees. So that brings me back to the proprioception. Right, I'm loading them areas again. I'm getting the body used to making them movements again. Okay, in a small, non-competitive way, really, you know. So they're called non-stickers, ideal for defenders. Okay. Next one is inside movement. Again, I'm trying to build up a little bit of endurance here. You can set up as many of these again as you want. You can work both sides of the pitch. You can use for defenders and attackers. So what I really want is one player soloing in, he kicks a ball over the bar, and then he feeds one of these balls back out to his partner, and then he moves left or right looking for the ball to be fed. He'll turn and shoot. Now, if that was a defender, he's just simply winning the ball and delivering it back out. So again, you're replicating the movements that the players do in their positions. So the player just solos in. So again, there's not a lot of contact. okay, obviously, and again, the pace would be quite low on their own, but it's perfect to build a load. So the ball is stuck over the bar, or attempted to stuck over the bar, and now he plays the ball out. So lots of foot kicking, going through all the skills of the game. So he points left to right, gets the ball, reacts to it, and sticks it over the bar. Now, these, again, are the entry-level exercises to get players back up to speed before you go into full contact and full technical training. Okay, and again, it's all about movements based on the game, and you can see this now clearly. Like it's quite similar. Now, again, if he was a defender, he'd kick that ball out like that, and when it comes back into him like that, working left to right, he just simply win it and deliver it back out again. So similar to what our deep line defenders do. So that's looking for inside movement, okay? And quite tiring that as well, quite taxing on the players, because that's the movement that you're trying to replicate. And again, you're trying to get that football physics, little turns and little shimmies in. Again, moving into the midfielders and our full backs. So we're looking to play some high balls in for our midfielders to catch them and to burst, or vice versa. You can have this exercise set in front of the goals for a full back to win a high ball and drive out with a kick. So a long ball is delivered, I'll show you now, out to the centre. And these poles here, now the low poles, do no damage, okay? They'll just act as a distraction, okay? And once the player is aware of them there, it affects his vision, as you'll see when it's this attempt to catch. Okay, he's aware of the pole there, and that pole just distracts him. So job done in a good environment, okay? Where he's not going to be tackled or knocked on his back or fall and not being able to stabilise his body. So that would be a good, now you have to remember, like, if you're going to be expecting midfielders or fullbacks to be catching them balls and driving out after not doing it for 16 or 18 weeks, they're very, very much at risk of getting injury, and never mind not being able to perform the skills. So the likes of these exercises are perfect for recreating that in a safe environment prior to the full rigours of training games. So that's what that one's about. Again, you could have that in front of the goals, and there's your fullback catching the ball. So just getting their eye in and then trying to attempt and take a shot. Okay. Right, so again, moving on now, we're going through the RPEs. This one's a little bit harder, right? So again, you could have about 12 players working here. It's just about you being creative. Okay, so you have a large 50 by 50 metre square. You can have two of them if you want. You can place the players basically anywhere. But the trick is that they're soling around the ball. They're soling around the 3/4 of the grid before they deliver a pass. So I'm really looking at the half forwards and the half backs and the midfielders, who generally have to run some distance and then deliver a long pass. So that's the objective of this exercise. Okay, so again, white players just simply soling. Okay, the green player will start at that. They both start at that corner. If you get me. Okay, so he's just soling up here the ball simply. Always looking for right and left. Okay, again, very warm day here, but you would be kind of looking for the pace to be a little bit more. You can set your time to whatever suits. Again, you could have 12 players working around that grid, right, with proper social distance, and they're well away from each other. So you want the ball delivered to the green player on the move, okay, and we want a long kick, right? So he's kicking while fatigued, okay, and then he just jogs on. So again, that's what replicates what a half forward, half back, or an indeed a midfielder has to do. And again, you're practicing good skills here. You're soling around the pace. You're trying to control the ball. Encourage left foot, right foot. Perfect for young players, okay, and not perfect for young players, right? Who are just a little bit worried about getting back up to speed. These type of exercises. But the more players you have doing this in this exercise, the better, because it would distract them. And it would, it's a little bit of competition with it. So that's that exercise. Again, you go both sides. You go the opposite side there if you're working on your left foot. Now, a couple of exercises. I'm going to just ramp it up here a little now, where you have pairs, okay, and then what we have is some small-sided games that we're working on shadowing rather than tackling. So there's 4 here, right? Agility, colours, lightning strikes, empty outs, and turn-ins. Now again, primarily aimed at inside and attackers, but perfect for defenders as well. But again, it's the movements I want. So this is just about a 2-minute video. So simple. You could have as many of these set up, okay? You could have a row of players ready to come in as soon as this one's executed, okay? So they're called 2 different colours, okay? And then the ball is played. So minimal contact, okay? And shadowing. Okay, and again, really, really tough, but really, really relevant. Okay, so again, the next pair would come in straight away after that, and you give them a good work to rest ratio. So again, simply just call 2 different colours and look at the back pedaling, the pushing off left, the pushing off right, the changes of pace. Okay, so again, really, really good. A little bit of contact there, Again, it's the close contact rather than full contact. Right. Really good exercise this for defenders and for forwards. Lightning strikes, okay? So again, we always have a rule of thumb that a forward must make 3 runs before he gets the ball. So again, this is replicating that. So someone's just feeding them. And again, what I would be doing is this: I'd have 3 of these stations set, and as a player runs out, takes a shot, another player just fills it, that position. Okay, so again, Dara's just showing these. He's just going over them because we haven't got another player to roll in from them. But it's the movements that's key. And the only condition in this is he must touch all 2 poles and start at the blue. So again, he's making all them movements that you see an inside forward make. And again, a defender has to make them too. Again, empty outs. So you're always encouraging attackers and indeed any type of players, no matter what position, to empty out, to vacate of a place and someone else to fill it. So these are called empty out. So he's emptying out left and right, okay, and then getting back into it and reacting to a ball that's played. Really, really tough exercise. Again, you could have 2 or 3 players working at the same time and again taking each other's ground and whatnot. So simply a straight out. Okay, he's out vacating space, and now he must get back in and react to a ball. So good ball control coming up here now. Simply, again, perfect exercises for getting back to that movement that inside forward's meant to do. Okay, really good for any player. Turn-ums, okay, because we have to change multi-directional changing all the time. Okay, we have to push off left and push off right. I'm just throwing the ball in here now to make it a little bit more interesting. But really, what you're looking for here is the movements. Okay, again, when you're sprinting short distances and changing directions, you have to accelerate and decelerate, and that's where you're most vulnerable to injury, when you're decelerating. So what we're doing there is we're just loading the body, right, for them type of movements in low capacities. Okay, so that's them again. Agility, colours, lightning strikes, empty outs, and turn-ums. Okay, they'll all be there. Now some handling games. I'll fly through these as quick as possible, right? And these are really, really good, right? And I'm a big believer in these games, and you get so much football fitness from them. Okay, but they're perfect for now because as a coach, we need to be getting the players shadowing rather than contact, okay, and particularly training, right, get the movements, okay, no fouls, whatever, but, you know, it's perfect to just introduce at this stage. So there's 3 sets of handling games here, and the first one is simply bounce pass, okay. So what you have there is you have 24 players trained in this exercise, but it's really 3v3s. So again, you could just have a 20 metre by 20 metre 3v3, and the yellow team has to bounce the ball to each other before they collect. So the blue team is shadowing, okay. Now if you really look close, there's minimal contact. Okay, there's minimum contact on it, so it's perfect for now. But it's very, very taxing on the energy systems. So we go through a few of them. The next one is then what we're doing, high pass. You'll see it now here. So it's a high throw and or bounce pass. Sorry, that's a bounce pass. So now it's the hip pass, so like a rugby pass. Okay, so the ball is played from the hip, like from hip to hip. Now, what I like about this game is, once you're playing the ball like this, throwing it from hip to hip, the pace increases unbelievably. Okay, and again, the thing about a rugby pass and a hip pass is the ball generally goes where it's meant to go, which is just around the belly button. So again, lots and lots of movement, multi-directional movement, front, backwards, sideways, okay? And again, shadowing all the time. We're not looking for contact, we're looking for shadowing and making yourself as big as you can. So that's the second one, bounce pass. And then the last one is the high throw and the high catch. Perfect for young players. I'd always play this because it's the hardest skill to coach, okay? Hardest skill to tackle, hardest skill to read. So that's a simple game, just throwing to each other. High throw, high catch is the name of the game, okay? Now, these are all left on for 90 seconds with 30 seconds breather, and really, really taxing because it's football movements. Really, really taxing, okay? So if you really wanted, then you could round all that system up by just playing a simple hand pass game with each other. So you've got lots of handling games, but it's the movement you want. Now, it's full on, and by playing 3x3 in a 20 metre by 20 metre, you're replicating intensity that's required to play the game. Okay, so again, that's the session. So we're moving on nicely. That's the session there. It's the dynamic mobility series warm up. Okay, skill set distractors, we've done them. Bouncers and the non-stickers. Okay, for if you want to work your defenders and your attackers, inside attackers. Inside movements or high ball work. Okay, so we were giving them a choice. Endurance delivery and pairs solo work or handling games, depending on the numbers. And then a warm down, and then the key points just reminding you there. So that's kind of a rough session of what a sort of return to training session should look like. Okay, so your pitch layout again, you've got like everybody's going to have to book their pitch now in advance, so you'll know that you have your hour and you know the area that you have to train. So you can lay this pitch out and have everything accordingly done, that you can move from one exercise to the exercise to the exercise with minimum fuss. Now, again, I think this is really interesting because this is peer coaching. And what I mean by peer coaching is as I'd be messing around with the lads, right, they would be coming up with some other exercises that they feel is relevant to themselves. And this is one of them. Okay, and what you have is you've got a drive, a pivot, another drive, and a shot. So again, in small, safe numbers, what you have is game-specific movements. So he drives out, pivots, has to drive again in a figure of 8 to collect the shot, turn over. So again, like everything else that we would do in good practice, is work the right foot and the left foot. Very, very good exercise for working 10 or 12 players. As the player shoots, so as he pulls the trigger, next player just goes, and so on. And that player is in and gathers the ball. So you can see here, we're working on the right first, and then we'll be working on the left. It's a simple exercise devised by the players. And you know something? They're generally the best, because these guys play the game. They tell you what they're experiencing and what they're feeling, right? And they'll come up with these ideas that they think, you know, this will benefit me by doing this type of activity. And if you look at that movement, we see it all over the pitch. Okay, and again, once you put a ball in a shot in it, players are as happy as Larry. So don't forget, you must work the left side as well. So peer coaching, it's a powerful tool, and all the top teams have it. All the top teams coach each other. They give advice, you know, they give best practices, you know, they set the tone, they set the culture, you know, they set the beliefs and the values of a team. So by doing the likes of this and empowering your players, you know, that's the payback that you'll get as a coach. One of the things that's very, very interesting in all this sort of stuff is, as I said, majority of this is aimed at youth and adults. And one of the reasons is because if you've got kids, so the way the coaching structure goes in GAA is you've got the child strand, which works roughly 12. And then you've got the youth strand, which is 13s. And then you've got the adult strand, which goes on from 16. So if you take kids, if you have any small kids at home, if you give them a small space like your back garden or your front garden or whatever, they can get up to top speeds replicating movements that's required to them in that space. An adult or youth can't do that. So it's not as hard for young kids to come back and to get up to speed of their game straight away. Plus, when they haven't reached puberty, right, they have no lactic acid, so they're not going to pick up injuries as much, or they're not going to tire. Okay, they haven't developed the lactic acid or the lactic threshold that prevents them from overdoing it, right, where youths and adults have. So they will be fine, the smaller kids, because even if they're just in general play, okay, they are replicating, but just through play movements that's required for any of their games. But youths and adults don't. So that's why we're going through this, and that's why Louth have been very progressive by even having this discussion. And hopefully people can take away some messages about that when you go back, right, I have to do it slowly, I have to replicate certain movements before I go fully loaded, right? You go fully loaded too soon, you're going to get injuries. You are going to get injuries, okay, there is going to be a higher spike of injuries than normal, okay, that's going to be part and parcel. But if we put these good practices in place, we have a chance of minimising that. Okay, so the advice really is to follow all our recommended advice. Keep an eye, again, for any change in COVID advice and best practices. All right, and try to stay and train in pods or bubbles. So if you're putting them in groups of 15 and training both sides of the pitch, just leave that until we got the full go ahead. You know, because that's the best practices that's been advised. You know, and again, no high fives, so you have to find another way to be tactile. Okay, so shameless plug there for more ideas. There's lots of non-contact and indeed contact activities on the YouTube page, and there's lots of individual ideas for players and condition ideas. It's just really, I find really, like, by sharing information, you know, you might pick up one or two things and share one or two things, and we all learn that way, really. And it's just to give guidance. Like, I've been looking at several videos and activities, like I showed you there, the peer coaching, and the ones you kind of come up with yourself are the best. So you'll get that by just getting ideas off other people. So the takeaway messages from tonight really is the new norms, okay? So there's going to be new normals, so just get used to it and probably get on with it, okay? Follow the protocols. Now, match your position. So if you're going to be planning some training sessions, just like what we showed you earlier on about the graph of the distance covered by elite players, try to match your position to some of the training you're doing. Don't be just generalising. And you know, so if you're playing some sort of non-contact games, try to make sure that players are in relative positions that they play in. Remember your learnings, okay? So remember a few things that you've learned from each other or from the peers, and when you're putting them into place. And again, promote the opportunity for players to learn new skills. because we should have a period of time where we're not in this intense with them. We're spending a bit of time for them to improve. So encourage them to try things. Encourage them to show you some new ideas, some new tricks bouncing between the legs and stuff like that. So again, the goal really for everybody is to get to the topmost of the popmost. Okay, and what that really means is to get to the top. So that's basically me. I think that's Shane's uncle that made that quote. But that's more or less me. So if you want to ask any questions, or Shane, if you want to have a chat, again, I passed on that presentation. You're welcome to it. If you need any more information, just give me a shout. But I hope you kind of get the message of really like planning. Okay, really take care in your warm-ups. Okay, take your time. Okay, encourage practice. You've got 3 great warm-ups there, and they're all excellent. You know, try to treat them. Come up with the favourite that you like most. Okay, and again, that's good. You're putting the players first by enforcing that. Okay, and then again, think of your RPEs. Don't have your hardest activity at the start of the session. Build up to it. Okay, and again, increase your load. Try to be creative in some of the activities you come that they replicate the movements based on the game. Think of proprioception. That's why you're doing it. Okay, so if people are saying, why are we doing this? You know why you're doing it. You're doing it to protect the players. So really, that's what we're looking for. Now, we'll have a great year, everybody in Louth playing football with the club season back on. And what we really want is all our players to be available to us. And by following some of these protocols, you're giving them the best chance. So that's basically me, Shane.
Yeah, thanks very much, Colm. Excellent stuff there. I think there was someone just asked the question there. Colm, any idea where you get your small poles from? It might be useful for some sessions.
Do you want to know where I get them from? I got them in. I keep mixing up. I can't tell the difference between Lidl and Aldi, but they're dog training set. So I have no dogs now, but I've seen them over there and I bought a load of them. Right, they're training dogs. So you get them Lidl or Aldi. That's where I got them.
Okay, good advice. Just like to thank everyone for logging in. An excellent webinar with Colm as usual, as someone wrote there. Excellent ideas, and as Colm said, a couple of weeks ago we didn't expect to be getting any football, so anything we have now is a big plus. So try to get all our players fit and ready to go in the next couple of weeks. And as Colm also alluded to, let's stick to the policy as close as we can, keep in small pods. And I think that's probably the best way for everyone. There's a couple of questions there just coming in there. 1 second, Colm. Where did I see that? I'm only going to have my under 12 girls back for about 3 sessions before competition. Should I even worry about getting them to match level that quickly, or use matches as a bit of training?
Yeah, I wouldn't be. Look, be honest with you. Like, I know it's very easy for me to sit here at times, but I mean, I wouldn't be worried about competition at all this year. I'd want all the girls to get as much football as possible, right? And what I mean by that is that they're fit to get it, you know, because like that's what you're going to really have this year. So you use the games to get their fitness up, you know, definitely. That's what I'd be. I certainly wouldn't be taking them down the beach to run, like, because like what I'm saying to you is that's what's going to create the problems. What you need to really do is replicate what they're going to do, and what they're going to do is play games.
Yeah, I think that's it. Someone else said, where do we get the presentation? I'll be emailing it out tomorrow. So also with the YouTube clip of the whole recording of tonight. Another question there, Colm, coming in. With big numbers of training, would you put half the group at one drill and half the group at another drill with some agility, fitness work, and then swap over?
Absolutely. Right. And even like, I probably shouldn't be saying this out loud, but we were training recently and we put our groups in 3 pods. Okay. And what we did is we had 2 activities in each pod and we rotated them around after 20 minutes each. So they got sort of 6 different activities to do, but there was only groups of 12 in them, so we rotate them around. So that's what I'd be doing. And even like I said, I found it very confusing at times with the GAA coming out and saying we're going to allow this and allow that. Right? What in my eyes, what they should have been doing is coming out and saying you're allowed to do this and that when they're ready. Right? So doing the likes of these sessions that we're talking about helps the players get ready. And that's the point. Can't stress that enough, because if you haven't replicated match scenarios in training, as soon as you play a match, that's where you're going to have the problems. So I'd be kind of trying to take my time, build up gradually, increase the load. This is the best practice that the physios are advising and stuff like that. So that's what I'd be kind of encouraging fellas to do if they had the time. Well, you will have the time. You have to kind of just plan your sessions and work, you know. That's what I do.
Yeah, just Fergus come in there. New guidelines suggest same mentor, same pod throughout the session. So maybe if you have 3 different pods, Colm, you might send a coach with them around the pod, different pods.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, what I would do there is, like, I mean, look, we would always, again, it's easy. We'd plan sessions in advance, and we would send them out to the coaches, that the coaches are well aware of what pods are doing what. So if they're following the pods, they just carry on. They know what activities has been done in that. And look, again, I was a bit extreme there doing 6. You probably wouldn't need to do 6 activities. Like 3 or 4 is enough, you know. And that's what I'd be suggesting, and definitely follow the guidelines that's been given, you know.
Yeah, just another question, Colm. Would you recommend starting off with the 45-minute sessions first to see how players are moving to decide whether to keep it 45 minutes or move up on time?
Yeah. Look, one of the best teachers of the game is the players themselves, and I'm lucky enough that at a household of young fellas to play football. So again, I take on board some of their feedback. Cracking 10k times, 5k times, and they're all delighted. You have to go down and do a 10-minute football session, and they're blown. So that tells me enough, right, that you have to kind of build that up gradually. So yes, I would be doing smaller sessions, definitely. But again, I would say to myself, right, an hour is enough. But out on an hour, 15 minutes to 20 minutes is spent warming up, going through your dynamic mobility session, your activation exercises or whatever. They are going to be vital now. So I'd be kind of spending about 20 minutes on that, and then maybe a 40-minute session or 45-minute session, building it up all the time.
Yeah, Colm, one there, just wondering, what app do you use for when compiling your sessions?
I just use a simple Word document, and what happens is if you snip the Word document, it becomes a PNG, and that allows you to tweet it and kind of save it out. But it's just simply Word document.
I think that's it, Colm. Thanks very much again to Colm and everyone for logging in. I'd like to wish Colm the best of luck with all his teams this year, and anyone that's logged in. I think we've had 160 people logged in at one stage there tonight. So best of luck to all coaches all over the country and in the coming weeks. And I'm sure we'll touch base again with similar webinars over the next couple of weeks. Thanks, Colm.
Well done, Shane. It was great. And thanks. If anybody needs any information, if they would just for your text or have my number for you, and if we can help, we can help.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. See you soon.